joined now by John Hemmings, who's from the Asia Study Centre at the Henry Jackson Society in London. Hello, John. We're all very aware of the acrimonious nature of US-China ties, particularly over trade. I gather that Friday's talks in Washington are focused initially on security, trying to tamp down this horrible atmosphere and create a better atmosphere. Is there any chance that we're going to see any significant progress, do you think?
In security and both in trade, I'm afraid that we may see some softening of ties, but the wider geopolitical structures that are driving the two countries to compete are not going to go away after one conversation. Partly this is because this is how great powers, especially rising powers and traditional powers, relate to each other, but it's also because of domestic politics. Both countries have kind of talked themselves into corners, and it's very difficult for them to make serious changes without kind of losing face, so to speak, to their own publics.
In terms of the political, how it's playing at home, I can see that. But is there any sign of the widely predicted economic damage, the costs, the price of this political policy changing people's minds? Has that particular thing come home to roost yet?
Oddly enough, it hasn't. I don't think any of us realize what a great paradigm shift this is going to be. You saw some fluctuation and damage with both stock markets. The American one particularly the tech stock market, had a bit of a rough patch. But actually, U.S. unemployment figures are the best they've been for 46 years. You've had still fairly robust growth of the U.S. economy. Despite all of this, it seems that the markets aren't spooked yet, which indicates that I think people have faith in the U.S. economy to weather the storm. Now, what will be very interesting is to see whether or not Xi Jinping, who's put so much political capital into his Made in China 2025 policy and developed kind of closer civilian military links in terms of technology promotion and development, whether he can walk back on any of that. I mean, we've had a Chinese president really pushing for a much more state-centered economy, and the Americans are calling him out on it. And of course, it's Trump, who does lack finesse and tact. But the question is, can Xi walk back on this without losing serious face at home?
And just one last question, John. I understand that these talks in some way are a preparation for the possibility of a Trump-Xi Jinping meeting at the G20 in Argentina in a couple of weeks' time. Any optimism there that a face-to-face might produce a new atmosphere at least?
I have to say, I've been tracking the bilateral for 10 years, and I've never been so pessimistic. I hope that Argentina goes well. But the speech that Xi Jinping gave yesterday in Beijing was kind of accepted or not. I think the Chinese have offered small, gradual changes, but they're the types of promises they've made in the past, and they primarily end up with buying more U.S. products rather than changing the structural aspects of the Chinese economy, the intellectual property acquisition policies, all those things the Americans are really after this time. The Chinese have said essentially accept it or not. So with that kind of bravado going into it, I can't see much coming out of Argentina, to be frank.
All right, John, that's John Jennings there from the Henry Jackson Society with the latest angle on that. Thank you very much.